Heist is easily one of the most overlooked and undervalued currency making strategies in the entirety of the game. Typically, when you think of Heist, people are like, oh, I don't want to have to level my rogues and it's so boring and blah, 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 blah. But this mechanic is easily one of the most profitable mechanics that you can do in the entirety of the game that requires essentially no character investment really to get going and very, very low investment to start. On top of that, depending on which strategy you take, you can make anywhere from 3 to 5 Exalt an hour up to 10 Exalt an hour with a well-geared character that moves quickly and some knowledge on how to do it. Heist is a mechanic that I've used for some time. It basically is just a looting simulator. You're going to be running through, you'll kill some enemies, but you're mainly just going to be picking up fat stacks of loot. If you've been looking for a way to gear your next character, but you don't have the funds to be able to do it, and you need 10, 20, 30, maybe even 50 Exalt, but you don't have anything at the moment, Heist might be able to do it for you. Boys, I've been an avid Heist enjoyer for quite a while now, and I know a lot of you guys are like, I don't like Heist, it's too difficult, I don't understand. Well, you're not gonna have any more excuses of not understanding after this video. Heist is something that pretty much anybody can pick up, and with just a little bit of knowledge, you two can start from absolutely zero currency and work your way all the way up to 10s, 20s, even maybe hundreds of Exalt. So remember, boys, if you're enjoying this content, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos. Without further ado, let's get into it. So starting out here, we're going to go over the basics of the entire strategy. If you are interested in more in-depth mechanics on each individual part, there are going to be timestamps down below this video. Make sure you jump to each individual section if you need more info on that. But this is just going to give you the short and sweet, as best as I can condense it, how to do this strategy and how to make money off of it. First thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to obtain a rogue's marker. You can get these from the random smugglers caches that show up in the various areas, and when you use one of these, it will open up a passage to the rogue's harbor. This is going to be the main heist area. When you first enter, you're going to have to do a quest contract from Karai. It's most likely going to be, I think, a lockpicking contract. I'm not sure because I only do it like once every 3 months or so, but you will need to do that quest contract to begin the whole process of doing Heist. Do that quest contract and that will unlock Karst for you, and then what you're going to need to do from this point is you're going to need to unlock each of the individual rogues, and you do this by doing contracts with each of the individual rogues. The order that you're going to need to do this in is going to be Karst, Huck, Niles, Vendiri, Gianna, and then you're going to need to go to Tibbs and do Tibbs, Talina, and Nanette. You will need to do contracts with each of these people and they will introduce you to the next rogue. Once you have all of those rogues unlocked, you're going to have to focus on leveling them up. That is the first thing that I think that you should do. If you don't have a good supply of heist contracts that you've gotten from, say, just opening up the smuggler's caches as you level up, you can purchase contracts over here from Wakano. He does have some very basic low-level contracts that you can do. These change as you level up. So if you want to, there's a strategy you can do where you force yourself to level down, buy more contracts from Meccano, level up one time in Heist, force yourself to level down, repeat ad infinitum, and you can get all of your rogues leveled up. Alternatively, you can just simply grab contracts, buy them from whatever source that you want. We'll talk more in depth about that later. Now, once you do get your rogues leveled up, this is going to be the basics of the strategy and our main goal for making currency. I'll talk about gearing the rogues, I'll talk about all that stuff later in the more individual sections. Our one and main goal for this entirety of this strategy is going to be running unusual gems blueprints. These are going to be the main thing that makes us all of our money. The reason for this is where the alt quality gems show up. Recently, since the introduction of Ashes of the Stars, alt quality gems have kind of exploded in viability. I know that item is still extremely expensive right now, but it does enable a lot of crazy builds, and those crazy builds make the gems that are required for them pretty darn expensive. So the whole idea here is we are simply trying to run these unusual gems blueprints. Now, you can obtain these blueprints in various ways. You can either buy them from TFT in bulk, or you can go onto the trade website and you can use the trade website to look these up. More specifics about those later. Now, the whole purpose of our strategy is going to be to get these blueprints and run these blueprints. However, it is not that straightforward. To use these blueprints, we are going to need to go to Gianna to unveil them, and to be able to do this, we need reveals from Gianna, these reveals that you can see right here. The way that we get these is we're going to be doing deception contracts. Now, thankfully for us, deception contracts are relatively profitable. You can make anywhere from 3 to 5 Exalt an hour. However, most of that is going to be from stacked decks as well as the rogues markers. So if you're planning on using the rogues markers to actually reveal the blueprints, the amount of currency that you're going to make per hour doing deception contracts is going to be a little bit lower. However, the payoff in the end is worth it. We're going to be running these deception contracts. As you can see, I have a variety of them here. You just want to roll them with modifiers that your build can handle. Doesn't really matter what it is. However, if you do roll them yellow, they do gain these modifiers that give us alert level reduction as well as time before lockdown. These are helpful for opening all of the different chests, which I'll show you here in a moment, and it makes it so that it is a little bit more profitable as time goes on. So once you have all of these contracts done, you're going to go over to Gianna with your blueprint. You'll walk up to her, you will do reveal blueprint details, and we've already got our blueprint in there. Now, as far as I know, the best way to do this is to choose the most expensive one first and then go down from that. So 1991, 2571, and 3107. Now, you are always going to reveal all of the wings of the blueprint. However, you'll notice that there are a bunch of little rooms that you can reveal as well. I personally do not do any room reveals with Gianna. I save her reveals specifically for just unveiling the large wings. I go over to Wakano and reveal the room details with him. Now, when it comes to revealing these rooms, the only ones that I think that you should reveal in order are going to be these divination card rooms, followed by the currency rooms. Now, that is the strategy at this current point. If things change and particular items are more, say, viable currency-wise in the future, like say that absolutely no one is doing Delve and fossils end up skyrocketing in price, probably never going to be the case, but reveals on Delve rooms could be good, as well as the Harbinger rooms. But the reason why only these rooms are worthwhile is that on average, you need to be making a couple chaos base for this room to be profitable because of the price of the rogues markers. If these rogue markers cost like 350 to 1 chaos, the thing that you have to understand is that when you're unveiling these rooms with Wakano, if this room costs 1777, you gotta think that's like 4 or 5 chaos that it's gonna cost me to reveal this room. Am I gonna, on average, make more than 4 or 5 chaos from this? Only the currency rooms and the divination card rooms are going to do that. The main reason for this is divination card rooms are going to give you stacked decks, which are worth anywhere from 1.5 to 2 chaos each. And then the currency rooms here are going to give you exalted shards and just some raw currency, which on average will be worth a little bit more than 5 chaos on most of the time, and then potentially even more than that if you get like exalted shards and such. The rest of these rooms never really add up to enough money. So we'll go through here, we will reveal all of the divination card rooms, the currency rooms, and then that is pretty much it. Now, once you've revealed all the rooms that you want, you can take this over into the planning room here. You'll walk up to the table here and you'll notice that there is a variety of different options that you have to select. Now, when you choose each individual one here, you'll be able to assign a variety of rogues. However, if you look at the different rogues and what their ability does, like Talina, for example, says 30% chance to find additional heist targets and 16% less raising of alert level. It's very important that when you look at each of these rogues, you choose which rogue has the best stats and the best abilities for whatever you're trying to do. Now, unfortunately, there are a set of rogues that are just better than all of the other ones, and some of the rogues you probably won't even use unless you absolutely have to. So for example, Talina is going to give us additional chance to gain extra rewards as well as less raising of alert level. Heist is also going to give us a ton of less raising of alert level. If we look at Demolition, we've got a couple people here. We've got Vendiri has more raising of alert level. However, he has a 16% chance to duplicate the contents of heist chests, which makes Vendiri easily the most important rogue out of all of them. He is absolutely the best. There's no questioning that whatsoever. Then we've got Tibbs. He can unlock 2 chests after everything locks down. And we've got Huck. Huck does absolutely nothing except gain more experience as well as provide buffs. Huck is almost useless. You should never choose him unless you have to. So here we're going to be choosing Vendiri since he is the best. Now what you might notice here is that we chose Vendiri for this. However, Vendiri is the only option that's available here. So we're going to choose Vendiri and we're going to change this over to our second best option, which is Tibbs. So now, since we've gotten our lineup of rogues, these are the best options that we've possibly got. We want to put as many rogues into the area as possible. So we'll continue to go through here. We've got Perception, Agility, and Lockpicking. So for Perception, I already know which one I'm going to choose. However, if you didn't, you would be like, oh, well, Karst is 40% less raising of alert level, whereas Nanette is only 20%, so you would choose Karst, right? Now with Agility, you can only choose Talina. But then when you get to Lockpicking, you've noticed that you don't have a good rogue to choose here because you've already chosen Karst and Talina. So what you should be doing is you should be choosing Nanette here for the first one, and then Karst for the last one. And now you've optimized the amount of items that you're going to be able to get. The rogues that are good are Nanette, Talina, Karst, as well as Vendiri. These are the rogues that I would say are ideal for any situation. After that, you can bring Tibbs and Niles. Those two are okay. Tibbs can open 2 chests. I think Niles can only open 1, maybe unless you get him a +1 to all levels item. And then all of the other rogues are mostly useless. So once again, Perception will probably choose the net, since lockpicking is going to have to be Karst, and then Talina is going to have to be under Agility. For Demolition, we'll choose Vendiri, Talina, and then here we've got an option. Oh, well, I can choose Vendiri, Isla, or Talina. However, I can have Tibbs here, and then I can have Vendiri here. Isla is not very useful, unfortunately. Increased time before lockdown isn't super useful because we're never going to be going into lockdown until the very end. So then we'll go down to the bottom, confirm the plans, and then the blueprint will be ready. Now, I want to give you an example of both a deception contract and one wing of a blueprint here. After that, we're going to go much more in depth on each individual section. So starting out, we're going to be running a deception contract. Now, when it comes to the money that you're going to be making from these areas, as I've already told you, it's mainly going to be the divination cards as well as currency rooms. These deception contracts have both of those in spades. So we're going to walk up to Adia. You can control clicker if you want, put the contract in, select deception and Gianna, and then we're just going to run it. And when we've actually entered the contract, the main idea here is that we're just going to be running directly towards the big rooms and opening up any other small chests afterwards. So you'll notice that we have this begin deception icon here. You're going to be hitting V, as you can see that little icon there that says begin deception V. You'll hit V to open this up, just an easier way to open these doors. You're going to wait for Gianna to open the door for you, pop open the chest here. Now the main reason why deception contracts are so good for money is because these chests open up very, very quickly. There's no time spent doing anything, and none of the doors are closed on the way back. Now you might notice when looking at the map here, there's not very many big chests. We've only really got like this one currency shards chest and this one little divination card chest here. So you'll kind of get a feel for how many of these small chests that you can actually open. I know that my camera is blocking the alert level a little bit, but you know, it is what it is. But you can kind of get an idea for how many of these little chests that you'll be able to open while still opening all of the large chests. Initially, I would say that in general, you're going to just want to open all the large chests and then open any small ones you can afterwards, just so that you don't miss out on any big items. Now, in general, I would say that the divination card chests are going to be best, then followed by the currency chests, then followed by the armor chests, and then followed by the chests that I just opened there, the shards of currency chests. I'll talk more in depth about why each of these chests are as important as they are, but in the meantime, once you've gotten pretty much everything that you want open and you've got your alert level as high as you're willing to take it, of note, in deception contracts, you will have plenty of time. You can just open any additional chests that you want. You can even pop the alert level before we go in here, because all that matters is that you run to the end and you grab this final item. Now, in some of these contracts, there's going to be these little safes here that you can pop open. These tend to have pretty decent rewards, so I do typically open them, but not every single time. They open very slowly, and you're not guaranteed to have great rewards. Now, after we've opened everything, our only one goal is getting out of here as quickly as we possibly can. I suggest that you use a character that moves very quickly. If you are very good at positioning your movement skills, you can use a character like RF, but a character that just runs very quickly and has phasing is the ideal character for this kind of thing. Now, that's an entire contract. That's all that you do. You go in, you open the chest that you want, you get the final item, and you run out. Now, this final item that you've grabbed here is the main way that we're going to be gaining our rogues markers. When you sell this item here to Fossus, he's going to give you a ton of rogues markers. These are going to be the main ticket that we've got to reveal all of our blueprints and enter the blueprints. So that's the basics of running a contract. We'll put all of our items away here, and then we will go ahead and run one wing of this blueprint. So you'll run up to Adia, you'll hit prepare grand heist. We've already done all of the prep for this heist ready to go, and then we will begin the heist. Grand heists blueprints are going to be a little bit different. You'll notice when we enter here, we've got all of the rogues with us, and there are 4 different rooms. So you'll start at whichever room you decide to. We'll go at the top left one here. Now, things are going to be a little bit different in here. It's going to be potentially a little bit more dangerous, and we've got a variety of rogues that do different jobs. You can use the arrow keys to look around on the map if you like, but as you can see, we've got 2 currency chests, we've got some fossil chests, and then pretty much nothing else of value. Now, we only have Talina in here, and then we've got Tibbs and Vendiri, so we're not going to be able to open a ton of chests, so we do have to be a little bit careful here. So we'll go through, we will activate our Righteous Fire, so we're actually doing damage, and we will just focus on moving through here as quickly as we can. We're not going to be able to open a ton of small chests, however, I know we can probably afford just these fossil ones and the currency ones and nothing else. Maybe a few small chests in the process. We'll go ahead and open these, grab all the items from them, continue to move on. But once again, you should be pressing V to open up these different areas. It's going to make your life a lot easier instead of having to click them constantly. It'll just focus on whichever the closest one is to you when you're pressing V. And we'll jump over to this currency chest, pop open the currency chests. As you can see, we got a couple chaos, a few chaos here. So keep in mind, that room cost us 4 to 5 chaos to open, and we made maybe 5 chaos out of the items that dropped out of it. So the idea being here is that a room like a Legion Splinter room is never going to make you 5 chaos. Extremely rarely. On average, you might make 1. The Delirium rooms and everything else, they also aren't going to make you that much. Now, there is a trick here with agility rooms. You can just simply skip through them and go and step on this platform, and it will actually do the unlock for you. However, when you do have Talina at a very high level, she's actually pretty quick about it, so you can just have her do it. But until then, you can always jump over it yourself. Now, here we are at the part where we make all of the money. So what I suggest that you do is, until you kind of learn which gems are actually going to be worth the most money, you can hover over these gems and hold Alt, and you will see what the Alt quality effects are. But I suggest that you use another website to be able to look up each of these gems. Once again, I'll talk about the specifics of this later on. I'm going to be using PoE Ninja, and like say for this second wind gem, we would go to the PoE Ninja section, we would type in second wind, and we will see that anomalous second wind is only worth like maybe 12 to 13 chaos at most. What I'm going to say is that anything that is 15 chaos or under is not worth your time. At the very beginning, you might want to pick up gems that are worth about 15 chaos, but once you start actually raking in some currency, anything that's 15 or under is not worth your time, and you should simply skip it. Move over to Divergent Summon Stone Golem. I know that this one isn't very good, but I'll go ahead and look it up anyways. A Divergent Stone Golem at level 16 is roughly 5 chaos. Move over to the next one. We've got Divergent Bone Shatter. Now, I have no idea. I haven't actually seen this one yet. Divergent Bone Shatter at level 16 is about 17 chaos. I probably still won't pick that one up. We've got Divergent Wintertide Brand. Divergent Wintertide Brand is 5 chaos. We've got Anomalous Wither, and Anomalous Wither is worth about 5 chaos. So this is a good example, actually, because this is something that I wanted to talk about later. If you do get a situation where none of the gems are worth anything, this will probably happen at least once or twice per blueprint. The best thing that you can do right now is, if you don't need any of these for a character, like say you're playing a Bone Shatter build and the alt quality is a little bit better, just take it. Who cares, right? What you should be doing, though, is you should just be running out. Don't worry about any of the else of the things here. The main thing that's going to be making us money here is spending our time efficiently. Now, when I'm running out, I'm going to be popping open chests, because these small chests are still going to be worth a decent amount. But as long as that alert level is still going, the doors aren't going to be closed, and it's going to save you a bunch of time. So I'm just going to keep running out, get through all the difficult obstacles, and move my way to the very end. As you can see, instead of spending all of this time opening all of these different areas and dealing with all these traps, we simply just left and saved ourselves probably 2, maybe 3 minutes, right? So now we've exited, and we are done with that wing of the blueprint. That is the entirety of it. Now, if you do find a very good item, like something that's worth multiple exalts, I suggest you be very careful on your exit. Don't do anything crazy. Don't run over any crazy trap items. Be very, very cautious, because you don't want to lose like 6 or 7 exalt, do you? Now, something that you can do is, in the middle of the blueprint, your inventory is going to fill up very, very full. You can leave to the Rogue's Harbor as long as all of the wings are not done. If all of the wings are done, you can't go back in there. However, you can leave in the middle. You can go to Faustus, sell off all of your items, put some stuff back into your stash, and then move on to the next wing. Now, that is pretty much everything that you've got to do for the full strategy. So the TLDW is going to be run deception contracts, get those unveils, use them on unusual gems, and then run the unusual gems. And now we'll get more in depth on each individual section of this, like gearing the rogues and everything else. So let's talk about first some of the basics of how much currency you're actually going to need to start doing Heist. The cool thing about Heist is that it really doesn't require almost anything at all to begin, because contracts are sort of free at the very beginning. You can kind of just do whatever contracts you need to. You can make up some money by just buying contracts from Mokano early on. The contracts that end up kind of being worth money are definitely Deception. Deception are worth a ton, and then Perception and Lockpicking also can get you a little bit of money to begin with. Now, on average right now, Deception contracts are going to be like 11 to 12 chaos each when you buy them. I think that that price is worth it because you're going to be making more than 11 or 12 chaos per deception contract that you run on average. So if you do have like 50 to 100 chaos, you can invest those into deception contracts and just run those, make a little bit more money, buy more deception contracts, and build up your little bit of money first. If you're wanting to go directly into the high end, like you want to be running blueprints immediately, I would say you probably want 1 to 2 Exile to be able to do that. If not, you're going to need to run deception contracts for a while, but you're gonna have to run them anyways for the reveals. So I would say if you've got 50 to 100 chaos, you can start this strategy from the very get-go of just running deception contracts. If you have absolutely no currency whatsoever, all you need is a very basic build that can survive like tier 14 to 16 maps, and just run some very basic contracts from Wakano, lockpicking, perception, deception. Just run those as much as you can until you make enough money to start buying deception contracts. Now let's talk about builds that are well suited for Heist. The build that I am playing is a Righteous Fire build. I have not spent a ton of money on this build. Early on in the league, it was a decent amount of money, but now you can get most of the gear that this character has for almost nothing at this point. Just using like an On's Heritage, some random gear that has like life regeneration rate. I've got the Legacy of Fury, which right now are 7 chaos, some random flasks, nothing crazy on my tree. There's no insane items or jewels or anything like that. I've just got very, very basic gear. This character is level 94, levels up pretty well in Heist. What I would say the characters that are going to be best for this are characters that move very quickly, meaning if your character has very high movement speed, think like a Raider or something like that, that character will be very well suited for Heist. Also, you need a character that has good survival. Damage is almost completely irrelevant here. You don't need damage to be able to do Heist. All you need is your character to survive and move fast. A bonus is if your character can do damage while moving, like Righteous Fire, that can be pretty good because you can just take out all the extra enemies that are nearby, but you're really not going to need to do very much damage. Just enough to kill off some stragglers, and that's about it. In the past, builds like Toxic Rain were really good for this, but nowadays, just look at what builds are very popular on like Raiders and such that can move very quickly. Righteous Fire is also pretty good for this. Poison builds can be pretty good for this if you're playing a poison build like Poisonous Concoction, where you can kind of just run through and use Plague Bearer to kill things, could also be pretty good. Now, let's talk a little bit about the rogues and what you should be doing for them, how to gear them up, how to level them, all that kind of good stuff. Now, when we're looking at the rogues here, as I said, there are rogues that are going to be better than other ones, but the main thing that you're looking to do is you're looking to move through areas faster and get more loot out of them. Now, as I said previously, each of the individual rogues have a certain perk, such as Gianna has reduced blueprint revealing cost, someone like Huck has got, provides strong buffs to allies, which is kind of useless. Karst makes it so that you have less raising of alert level from opening reward chests. Helena also has this, but also has additional secret reward rooms. People like Isla have like increased time before lockdown, which isn't very useful. Now, beyond that, gearing the rogues is actually relatively important. The first piece of gear that I think that you should put on pretty much all of the rogues is just going to be a precise arrowhead, a projectile attack damage weapon that has job speed as well as granting the haste skill. You just want all your rogues to have this. The amount of damage that they do is irrelevant. Don't ever worry about that stat. For a weapon, get something that has job speed as well as the haste skill. That's all that you really care about because it's going to make them do their jobs faster and make you move around faster. When it comes to the Foliate Brooch, you should be looking for things like duplicate basic currency and job speed. Anything else besides that is a bonus, but duplicating basic currency is the main one that you want on every single one of your rogues. You really want the basic currency duplication because that's going to be the vast majority of the money that you get from just random chests. Job speed is a bonus, but get that basic currency, and if you can get basic currency and like something else that's good with it, more power to you. For the cloak, we're looking for job speed and reducing the level of alert that we get from opening chests. Those two are the main things that we're looking for. You're kind of seeing a pattern here. And last, but definitely not least, we're looking at the main item for each of the different rogues. Now, each of the rogues are going to have a different item. All of these items are going to increase the speed at which they do their jobs, but the main thing that we are looking for here is we're looking for plus the level of all jobs for heists. This is going to mean that their levels for their jobs are going to go up and their perks are going to get stronger. Beyond that, you're looking for job speed, and particularly for Gianna, I suggest that you actually spend some money and buy a very good Regicide disguise kit, because what you're looking for is you're looking for plus the level of all jobs for heist, and you're looking for chance on completing a heist to generate an additional reveal with Wakano. We are only really going to be doing Gianna contracts, so we need to make sure that we're getting as many additional reveals with Wakano as possible, while also making her move through them faster. This is going to cost you a couple exalt, but I do suggest that if you're going to be doing a lot of heist, if you're going to invest in any rogue gear, it's this particular piece. Now, you can buy similar pieces for all the other rogues, but you don't need to go for a chance for completing a heist that generated a reveal with Wakano, because you're not really going to be doing very many of their contracts. Get gear very similar to this for all of the different rogues that are useful to you, so that is pretty much all that you need to know about gearing the rogues themselves. Now, when it comes to picking each of the rogues, as I said previously, when you're going into the blueprint and picking all of the rogues, they have different things that each of them are going to do. As I said previously, the most important of the rogues is going to be Vendiri, because he gives you a chance to duplicate the contents of the chests. After that, I would say that Karst is pretty important. If you get to the point where you realize that you don't need more reduction of alert level because there's not enough chests for you to even open, then you can move in Nanette and Talina instead, as they have a little bit better perks beyond that. And then after all of those, if you've put all of those into the zones, as a secondary, I would say that Tibbs as well as Niles. Huck is not very useful at all. He gets you some extra experience, which is whatever. Isla can get you some more increased time before lockdown, but that's not useful whatsoever. And Gianna, you should never bring her to a blueprint unless you absolutely have to, as she gains absolutely nothing from going through the blueprint. Unless they've changed it to get reveals, I'm pretty sure you don't get any reveals from her or anything if you bring her to a blueprint. Only bring her if you absolutely have to. Now let's talk about the contracts in particular. Now the reason that we're going to be choosing particularly deception contracts is mainly because we're going to need reveals from Gianna. So if we are running deception contracts, we're going to get those Gianna reveals. The rewards from them are pretty good, luckily for us, because you're having to run them. And in my opinion, you shouldn't be running any other contracts whatsoever. They're simply not worth your time. I know that deception contracts are going to be more expensive than the rest of the contracts, but those other contracts are really simply just not worth running. So talking about how you should actually be running your contracts, I already gave you an example of a contract earlier, but when you're running them, the main thing that you should be focusing on is efficiency. How quickly your character is moving through them, how quickly you're spending your time selling the items, putting the stuff in your stash, and moving back in. Overall, the main focus of this entire strategy is not to try to get the most out of each individual contract, each individual blueprint. It is efficiency overall. Getting as many contracts done, getting as many blueprints done as you possibly can, and being efficient with your time. So, as I stated previously, there are a couple different kinds of rewards that can pop up in the different kinds of contracts. So if we go and grab like a random blueprint here that has a variety of different kinds of rewards, I'll show you all the different rewards and which ones that you should be looking for when it comes to making money with contracts. If we look at the list here, this blueprint has the vast majority of the different kinds. Mainly your money when it comes to opening chests and rooms is going to come from the divination card one, and this is because of stacked decks. Now, the thing about stacked decks in particular, you see I've got 1160 of these here. The thing about stacked decks is the price of this kind of fluctuates. So typically when there is a very big important item that people want from stack decks, these end up being worth a decent amount. At the very beginning of a league, these are only really going to be worth at most 1 chaos. However, as you get about a month in, they will slowly move towards 2 chaos each. I personally feel that if stack decks are closer to 1 chaos, you should probably just be opening them if you're going to get a very large amount of them. As they start getting closer to 1.5 to 2 chaos, I do suggest that you just simply sell them. Because if you can sell these for 2 chaos each, you're going to get 2,300 out of this, right? That's a ton of chaos. In comparison, at 1.5, you're going to get a little bit less. I typically sell around like 1.7, 1.8. Now that's from divination. Now, beyond that, we also do have currency rooms. This is going to provide you mainly chaos as well as exalted shards. Those are the main 2 things that you're going to get money out of there. All of the rest of the rooms are significantly less worthwhile than those 2. However, there are other rooms that I would call tier 2 in importance. These are rooms that you can open if you have extra room, but you should not be prioritizing. And those are going to be armor rooms and then the currency shard rooms. Now, the main reason why armor rooms are so worthwhile is because of the new items this patch, which are going to be recombobulators or recombinators, whatever you want to call them. Recombinators make synthesized items as well as fractured items much more worthwhile, and these armor rooms do drop a decent amount of those. On top of that, they can also drop helmets that have enchants already on them. There's a couple different enchants if you look at like Pee-wee Ninja on which enchants are worth a lot. Those can be pretty pricey, so those can get you a decent amount of money. But right now, it's mainly going to be fractured mods as well as synthesized implicits. These are very, very, very sought after for recombinators. So those rooms can actually make you a pretty decent amount of money. The next room is going to be the currency shard rooms. These currency shard rooms are Kinda really. They're not that great, but you can get exalted shards from them. That's pretty much the only thing that you're worried about. Technically, you can get mirror shards, but good luck with that. And then we have all of the other rooms. You're not really going to encounter the rest of these rooms in contracts. You might find some jewelry rooms, which can drop mage blood and headhunter and stuff, but the rest of the rooms are very, very not worth it. That's pretty much all of the rooms that you're going to encounter in contracts. So focus on the divination card rooms and the currency rooms, and then armor rooms and the shard rooms are both okay, but not great. Now talking a little bit about blueprints and how you're going to be making your money from them, what you should be focusing on, and all of that. When it comes to blueprints in general, you're going to have a much larger variety of rooms that you're going to have access to. So I already talked in the previous segment about contracts, about how divination cards and currency rooms are going to be tier 1 of importance of things that you should be looking for, and then armor rooms and the currency shard rooms are going to be tier 2 importance. Beyond that, the only other rooms that I would even suggest that you open are going to be metamorph, the fossil rooms, the shard, like the map shard rooms, and essence rooms. Everything else is not really worth it. I wouldn't even look at them, to be honest. They're not worth even touching. You can open these rooms if you have extra like alert level that you can use and there's nothing else going on, but honestly, I would say in general, if you can't get tier 1 rooms and you can't get tier 2 rooms, you should just be opening the random small chests around the contracts and heists. There's no real reason to open anything that's a tier 3 chest. It just genuinely is not worth it. And when it comes to rolling these blueprints, once again, like I said in the main strategy, you really should just be rolling them yellow with as many mods as you can possibly handle, just ones that are good for your character. You do not want to roll mods that could potentially kill you. It is much more worthwhile to simply roll with another Chaos Orb or like a Scour and a Binding or an Alchemy instead of potentially losing like a 7 Exalt item that you're going to get from this blueprint. It is very, very not worth dying in these, because if you die, you're going to lose all the items that you grabbed, and if you go in there and you randomly get like a 7 to 10 Exalt random gem, and then you die and lose that, you're probably just going to quit for the league. So don't roll these crazy. If you have a build that can't handle it, just run them white. It really doesn't matter that much. Now, another thing is I talked earlier about how you're actually going to price these items, and say you're actually in the blueprint and you're wondering, well, I see all these items, how do I know how much they're worth? I can't use like a mod or anything to, just like click a button like Control D from Awaken PoE Trade, and I can't actually tell how much it's worth. Well, the main way that I do it is going to be using PoE Ninja. We are on the skill gem section of PoE Ninja here. So what you're going to do is say you found like, I don't know, cast when damage taken, right? You're going to type in cast when damage taken, and you'll notice that there's going to be a variety of different ones here. Now you can, if you want to, go and search by level. However, the different gems have a different variety of levels, so I don't suggest doing this because some are going to be level 15, some are going to be 16, 17, and it's just kind of a pain. You can also search by quality. You can do like a 0 to 19 if you want to. That's relatively safe. I would say that 0 to 19 is probably better because the 20 quality ones aren't really going to be accurate pricing early on. You really do just want to look at these kinds of different gems. Now, when it comes to corrupt, you should click no for sure. When it comes to type, you can change this if you want to, but it's pretty easy to see all the different kinds of gems that are here. So looking at the different kinds of gems, you can just type in cast when damage taken. You've already got all these mods on here, and you can see, well, divergent cast when damage taken is almost 10 Exalt, but anomalous cast when damage taken, if it's level 20, is 91 Chaos. You should be careful to look and see ones that say level 20 are going to be worth a lot more money a lot of the time. So double check for like level 1 or level 3 or anything else like that. That's kind of the problem with choosing these qualities and all these different options, is it kind of doesn't give you an honest representation, because most of the time when you find a gem, it's going to be something like 15-20, right? So the actual price of anomalous cast when damage taken is going to be 75 Chaos right here. Now, we'll do other things like Withering Step, and then you can see, you type in Withering Step, you'll see, oh, well, Anomalous Withering Step at level 16 is about 35 Chaos, that's pretty good. But then you're gonna see things like Stun Support, right? So if you've got, well, let's do Endurance Charge on Melee Stun. You've got Anomalous Endurance Charge on Melee Stun. A 20-20 Anomalous one is worth a lot of money, but all of the rest of them are worth basically nothing, right? 20 Chaos for a 16-20 Anomalous Endurance Charge on Melee Stun. If you open up a list and you see the vast majority of them are like 15-20 Chaos or less, just skip this one. If you're making a decent amount of money already, selling 15 Chaos gems is genuinely not worth your time. You're better off just running out and moving on to a new one. So, as I said, you just type in like increased critical strikes, and then you'll get a list of all the increased critical strikes. Don't be baited by the one up the top here that says 2020, because these are worth a lot more since they're 2020. The confidence is also going to be really low. You're looking for like level 16 and seeing how much like a level 16 divergent increased critical strikes is. 25 chaos. You might be able to take that one, but if it's anomalous and you're seeing, oh, 15, but you have to be careful. Divergent critical strikes with 16 is actually only 13 chaos. A 1620 is 25 chaos. You kind of have to learn how to read this a little bit better to make good choices. Eventually, you will get good enough at this when you do it long term that you'll just kind of know what gems are what price early on. If you're worried about it, of course, double check. The next thing is going to be actually buying the contracts and buying the blueprints. You can do this through the trade website, but just understand this is significantly less efficient than using TFT. I'll talk about TFT in a moment, but I know there are some of you that absolutely refuse to use TFT. So if you absolutely refuse to use TFT, you can use the trade website to look up deception contracts as well as blueprints. Now, when it comes to actually searching these up on the trade website, this is substantially harder than it's going to be using TFT, but if you are absolutely against TFT, then there is a way to do it. You're going to scroll down, you're going to look for map filters. You're going to want to do area level of 81 or higher. This is going to make sure that you're getting 14s, 15s, and 16s when it comes to contract levels, and then you're going to need to enable this section called Heist filters. Under the Heist filters, there's a couple things to look at. If you're looking for contracts specifically, you can search by specific kinds of contract objective value, meaning if you really want those super high value contracts, you can go for them. But honestly, you're going to be pretty hard pressed to find any that are up on these higher values. And then we're going to be looking for deception minimum level 1. Now there is kind of a problem here. When you look at these Heist filters, if you search for deception and then we just go, the problem is that it's not going to just give you deception stuff. It's also going to show up some blueprints as well. So I haven't found a great way to just make sure that no blueprints show up in here, because if you type in contract, it's going to give you a whole bunch of these different ones. So the main way that I have found to do it is that you simply are just going to put maximum of 0 in all of the rest of these, and then it should only show up the contracts, and there should be no blueprints that actually show up in here. That's the only way that I've really been found able to do it, but beyond that, it's pretty much the only way. So once you've put all of that in, you can set whatever settings you like, and then you can go into the horribleness that is attempting to buy these individually from people. The problem with buying contracts individually from people is that yes, you can set certain options, you can get just only high value ones, but buying these one by one from people is going to be very difficult. I would suggest that you message these people and be like, hey, I want to buy all the deception contracts that you have, and see if you can get lucky with something like that. Now, when it comes to buying blueprints, this is a little bit different. You'll want to get rid of all of this because none of this is really going to matter for blueprints. The only thing that's really going to matter for blueprints is going to be total wings. I would suggest that you make sure that it is only 4 wings and you don't do anything that isn't at least 4 wings. So if we go for a minimum of 4 wings, area level 81, and then we make sure that we are doing only blueprints with repository, we should pull these up and it should only be unusual gems. Now, these will be all 4-wing unusual gems, but they're going to be about 35 to 40 chaos each right now. But unusual gems are the only one that you should really be going for. And now we're going to do the way that you probably should be buying contracts and blueprints, and that is going to be through TFT. Now, the main reason for this is you can buy large amounts at one time through the bulk Heist willing to sell of whatever league that you're currently in. You'll see that there's a bunch of people here just like spamming all kinds of different things for things to sell for bulk. The problem that you're going to run into is you really need to be messaging people that have posted very recently. If you don't, people are going to buy up everything that they've got. So for example, this guy with like 45C each for 4 of these blueprints, eye level 81 for gems, you would need to snatch these up within about a minute or 2 of him posting. If you do anything later than that, they're almost assuredly going to be sold. And this is worse for contracts and blueprints that are of higher value, meaning particularly deceptions are going to sell very quickly and the gems blueprints are going to sell very quickly. As you can see, a lot of people that are posting their gems blueprints sell almost instantly. This guy's got a lot of deception ones, so you can buy them in large bulk. But right now, as of this video going out, 12C is about a good price for deception contracts, and 35 to 40C is pretty good for the blueprints for gems. So all that you would do is that if they have an IGN that's listed here, you're just going to at them in game and say, hey, I want to buy all of your deception contracts. I want to buy 10, I want to buy 20, however many they have, or say, hey, I want to buy all of your gems blueprints. If they don't give you an IGN, you can click their name and then type in, hey, I'd like to buy all of your such and such. My IGN is at, and then your character name. so that they can copy that and they can message you in game. This is going to be substantially faster and substantially more profitable for you in the long term, because you're not going to be sitting there and spending 20, 30, 40 minutes just buying contracts, buying blueprints. You can spend 5 minutes and get probably like 100 contracts if you want to. This is how I buy all of my blueprints and my contracts. I know some people don't like using TFT, but when it comes to Heist, this is just significantly better and more efficient and faster and cheaper at the end of the day. So in this last section, all I really want to talk about is optimizing your time. As I said earlier, one of the best things that you can possibly do is optimize the amount of time that you're doing any individual thing. You really should be focusing as you go through Heist and as you go through these blueprints and contracts and such, and as you trade and do other things, on how to make these situations faster for you in general. You need to make sure that you're moving through these options faster, that you're selling your items to the vendor faster, that you're stashing your items faster. You should be thinking about all these different ways that you can optimize your time. Time is the biggest thing that you're going to be spending in PoE trying to make money. So for example, I have a gems tab that is going to be used particularly for the bigger, larger drops. Like for example, I only sell my primary grading lenses and my secondary regrading lenses in bulk. I sell them in stacks of 5 to 10. So the idea here is that I don't have to worry about making all these little individual sales. I can sell to one person who's wanting to buy a bunch of them at once, and I can probably charge them a little bit more since I'm saving them the time of having to buy them individually. Beyond that, I do list my particular gems that are worth a decent amount all in one tab, but then I have various tabs that are worth various different amounts of money that are going to be just, oh, I'll just drop my items into there, into this 35 tab, this 30 tab, this 25, 20, 15. I'll just drop either the gems that I find or random items that are worth something into these tabs and then forget about them. Every so often, I'll go through my tabs and move everything down one price tier. If anything starts to get under 15, I don't even really use these tabs anymore. I typically just kind of vendor the item, or I keep it if I think I can use it on another character later, but anything under 15 chaos is no longer worth it to me with the amount of money that I've got. So you should be thinking about these things. Thinking about, hey, if I'm running contracts, well, you can run to a dia, you can prepare the contract, open the contract, and while that contract's opening, sell all of your items that you got from the heist, like the little items that get you rogues markers and such. Go put all of your items away in your stash while that portal is opening, and then enter it again. Stay efficient, keep moving, doing more things. A lot of the time when you're selling items, you're going to get messaged by people while you are in the blueprints, running through the blueprints. What I suggest do, invite them and type in chat, hey, I'm in the middle of a blueprint, it's going to take a moment. People are actually more patient than you might realize, because if you are someone that is selling these alternative gems, obviously you're going to be in heists and contracts and blueprints, right? People are going to be used to that because people aren't just going to leave randomly for no reason. You shouldn't take up too much of their time, but just be like, invite them to the party and be like, hey, I'll be a sec in a blueprint. Type that in and just wait. If they leave, then so whatever. You can wait until someone else purchases the item. Another thing to think about when it comes to optimizing your money and your time is that you really should be kind of undercutting people when it comes to selling these gems, right? On average, over time, most gems will go down in price. They will not go up in price. If you are going to be selling these gems and you're using something like Awakened PoE Trade, right? You'll see that the vast majority of people are pricing these at about 80 chaos, right? Here in the middle, there's going to be a bunch of people at about 80 chaos. This is the actual price of the gem. It's not 77, it's 80. None of these prices up here are real. This is the price that things are actually going to sell for. So undercut them by 1 so that you're at the top of the list. As you can see, someone's undercut me by a little bit here at 77. So if anybody does buy this item, they're going to be buying it from that guy most likely. So I'll change the price of this. I'll change it to 76 to undercut that guy. The problem here is that over time, these prices are going to slowly go down. So if you don't make the sale initially for that like 1 or 2 people who are going to buy that particular item that nobody really wants, then you might not make that sale at all. And by the time that you do make it, it's going to be like 60 or 55 or something like that. Now, for items that are very sought after, you can kind of sell them for whatever you want. Like right now, what is it, Divergent or Anomalous, whichever one of the cast when damage takens is like 10 Exalt, that'll sell. Don't worry too much about it, just be patient. Another item that I didn't really talk about very much is going to be these Thief's Trinkets. These can be okay. You can choose whichever Thief Trinket you like. I honestly don't feel like they're that powerful most of the time. You can spend a bunch of money on getting a very good one of these, but the return that you get from the Thief's Trinket is typically not that great. I just go for something that gives you like transmutations will drop as chaos orbs. There's ones that make like chaos orbs turn into exalted orbs and all that, but you're gonna pay 100 exalt for those. By the time that you make your money back, you'll probably have already quit the league, so I don't suggest using those kinds of things. Another thing that you can do to save yourself a bunch of time is when you're actually running contracts and you're running blueprints, you should be doing all of this before you even begin. So for example, I just recently bought a whole bunch of blueprints here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look for any magic ones, and we are going to scour all of these magic ones. So go into my tab, I'll hit anything that is magic with a scouring orb. Now there might be some that are corrupted or something like that, or have more magic monsters. I'm not that worried about it. Sometimes you're gonna get contracts that are corrupted, just run them, it doesn't really matter that much. Then we're going to look for normal items, and we're going to hit these with binding orbs. You get a ton of binding orbs, so I suggest that you use them. They're free, as according to like alchemies, which can cost a lot of money. And then what you're going to do is you're going to look through all of these and be like, all right, is there any mods that I can't do? Okay, I can't do maximum res. That one's fine. That one's fine. No, I can't do less recovery of life, maximum res, and so on and so forth. And you'll go through all of these and see which modifiers you're able to deal with. Can't do Ellie Reflect, can't do maximum res. You'll go through and you'll check them, and then you've got all of the ones that you can't do in your inventory, right? You will scour these all again, hit them with more binding orbs. Can we do all of these? Yes, no, I can't do that one. I can do that one. I can do that one, I can do that one, I can do that one, and then you'll repeat the process again. Scouring orb, hit it with another binding until you've done all of them, and you know that you can run all of your contracts, right? That you don't have to think about it. You just grab a bunch of them, put them into your inventory, and just start run, and don't even think about it. Roll all of your contracts at once. It's going to make you significantly more efficient. Another thing to think about is that when you're actually running the contracts and the blueprints, if you've got time where they're, say, opening a door and you've got nothing to do, while they're opening that door, move some stuff around in your inventory. If you have to like check an item, like say you picked up a helmet that has some kind of enchant, but you haven't had time to check it, you can go into your inventory, check whatever item that is, and be like, and PoE Awakened Trade says, you know, oh, it's not actually worth anything, take it, drop it on the floor, and keep running. Just try to be efficient with your time. This section I know has just been a bunch of little tips, but the overall idea that you should be taking from this section is just do things faster. Look for ways that you can optimize your time and spend less time doing things that don't actually make you money. And that is going to be it for the video. Now, if I have forgotten anything, I will post it down in like a pinned comment or something like that. I always get to the point where I'm like posting the video, and then as the video is going live, I'm like, oh, I forgot that. It'll all be down there if I remember anything, or if any of these updates change, or are there any changes to the strategy and such. But everything, for the most part, I've tried to make it as timeless as possible, as evergreen as I can. So if you're watching this in the future, the only thing that you should be thinking about is if the different reward rooms or such, or the different items change in price. If something ends up being worth more, then maybe you could swap over and say, hey, maybe there's a delirium room that ends up being worth a lot, or maybe after this league, Sentinel ends up being pretty good, so you know the Sentinel room is worth opening, things like that. So remember, boys, if you enjoy this content, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos, and stay safe out there in Ray class. And I'll see you guys in the next video.